Wow, looks like my local art museum just got in some new medieval paintings. I should pop in and appreciate some of the incredible art that the medieval time period has to offer. As you look at art that was made in the medieval times, you will probably notice one thing, and that's these guys. Strange, muscular babies with male pattern baldness and a face that looks like they really want to talk to you about your investment portfolio. So why do so many babies in medieval paintings look like ugly, middle-aged men? Well, turns out the reason why your average medieval toddler looks less like an infant and more like a washed-up office worker with high cholesterol and a mommy complex isn't because people in the 1300s had never seen a kid before, or just really sucked at painting, but because they wanted them to look like that. Why? Well, it all has to do with something called a homunculus. So here's the thing, the vast majority of medieval paintings of babies aren't just paintings of babies, they're specifically paintings of baby Jesus and the Virgin Mary. And that's important because during this time, religious ideas around Christ were heavily focused on his dual nature as a being both fully human and fully divine, having both physical, human, mortal, and infinite, eternal, and immortal characteristics at the same time. As beliefs changed to support this dual nature of Christ, so did the physical representations of him in art. So what the heck does that have to do with the idea of the homunculus? What is a homunculus? The word homunculus literally just means little man in Latin, and it refers to the idea of a tiny little person that begins its life in what YouTube's guidelines are forcing me to refer to as nature's little swimmers.
Oil oil? Ugh, alright, I'm out.
Then this tiny man creature is later born not as a baby, but as a fully formed little human that gradually grows in size to eventually resemble a normal human male. Not only was this idea of the homunculus instrumental in the early ideas of human reproduction, it also quickly became associated with figures that were more than human. Hey you! Don't you think it's time that you finally got rid of those earbuds that only half work on one side and suck at pairing? Well, then you should check out today's sponsor, Raycon, the earbuds that make life worth living. Okay, but seriously, these things are bonkers in the best way, because not only do they have a 32-hour battery life, their quick charge function allows you to get 90 minutes of play from just 10 minutes of charging, which is great if you're like me and you completely forget to charge them until they're dead. But if you don't like this gorgeous purple, their new line also comes in a bunch of different colors that are all beautiful and lovely. Not to mention weather and sweat resistant, so they can go wherever you go. And if that's not enough personalization for you, you can also make a beautiful case combo with their special protective cases that come in a bunch of different colors and varieties. And while performing like luxury earbuds at a fraction of the price is pretty incredible, my favorite feature has to be the fact that they can pair to 2 different devices at the same time, so I can listen on my computer or on my phone whenever I want, which, let me tell you, has been a game changer. So head on over to buyraycon.com/abrush to get 15% off everything site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/abrush, and thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Christ wasn't depicted as a normal human baby because normal human babies are weak and slobbery and utterly helpless. So what greater solution is there in depicting the power of a deity than showing that power in what would normally be the most vulnerable and underdeveloped members of society? Christ isn't shown as a baby because he wasn't a baby. Or at least that's what they thought at the time. These artists weren't trying to show us cute, cherubic, chubby-cheeked toddlers. They were trying to show the power of an otherworldly, infinitely powerful being in a vaguely baby-like package. In other words, they didn't want to make him a baby because babies kind of suck. Oftentimes, artists depicting these kinds of symbolism in religious art are misunderstood, but actually, they succeeded perfectly in what they were trying to do. As an example, if you asked someone to paint you a Picasso and they gave you realism, they missed the point. But if you ask someone to try and paint a baby that is also simultaneously not a baby and is in fact a god that's older than time itself, you can kind of get what they're coming from with the six-pack and unsettlingly direct eye contact. Oh hey, editing Rebecca here to say that there's a second layer to that joke because I think I forgot to blink during like the whole time I was filming this video. So I think in the span of like 5 minutes, I feel like I blinked like 5 times. So sorry if the amount of eye contact in this video is deeply distressing to you. But much like the rise and fall of the fidget spinner or a non-American's view on American politics, homunculus babies fell from grace. With the rise of the Renaissance, people started to want paintings not just of religious iconography, but also of family members and regular life. They had the money to immortalize their loved ones, and in doing so, they wanted those loved ones that were babies to, well, look like babies. Eventually, this more naturalistic, idealized style of painting bled back into religious art, which is when we start seeing portraits of the baby Jesus that look like a chubby little baby, instead of a baby whose favorite restaurant happens to be Golden Corral. I hope that you enjoyed taking a deep dive into the history of babies in medieval art with me, and I will see you again next week. Until then, tag yourself in the comments. What horrible little old man baby were you? Personally, I find myself resonating with this fella. As always, thank you so much to my patrons, and I will see you next week.
Ugh, all right, I'm out.